Ladies and gentlemen, if I could leave you with just one idea that has changed the course of my life, one principle that I've seen transform ordinary men and women into extraordinary leaders, entrepreneurs, and human beings, it would be this: the power of personal philosophy. Because your philosophy is the set of ideas you choose to guide your life. It's the compass you use when the road gets foggy, the filter through which you interpret every event, every success, and every setback. The power of personal philosophy is one of the greatest forces that shapes a human life. Every individual, whether they realize it or not, is guided by an invisible compass, a set of ideas, beliefs, and conclusions they have drawn about themselves, about others, and about the world. That compass, which I call personal philosophy, becomes the master blueprint of a person's destiny. The way you see things, the way you interpret events, the way you explain success or failure, the way you deal with adversity, the way you define happiness, all of it is filtered through your philosophy. And here is the truth. If you want to change your results, you must first change your philosophy. Your philosophy is not handed down at birth. It is something you develop, sometimes consciously, but more often unconsciously. You pick up pieces of it from your parents, from teachers, from friends, from television, from the books you read or don't read, from the mentors you listen to or ignore. But here's the challenge. If you are not deliberately constructing your philosophy, then your philosophy is being built by accident. And when you live by accident, you rarely end up where you want to go. Life is too important to leave to chance. Your future deserves more than randomness. It requires intentional design. When I was a young man, I thought the key to success was working harder. I thought if I just put in enough hours, eventually things would turn around. But then I met a mentor who told me something that shook me to the core. He said, "Jim, the problem is not the hours you're putting in. The problem is what you're putting into the hours. Your results are a reflection not of how hard you work, but of your philosophy." That was a turning point. It opened my eyes to the fact that my philosophy was filled with weak ideas, excuses, and half-truths. I had accepted the notion that circumstances were in charge of my future, when in fact my thinking was. You see, the difference between a successful person and a struggling one is rarely intelligence, rarely opportunity, rarely luck. The difference is philosophy. Two people can face the same setback. One says, "This is the end. I knew I wasn't cut out for this." The other says, "This is my lesson. I will grow, I will adjust, and I will come back stronger." Same event, completely different interpretations, and those interpretations come from philosophy. So the question is, what kind of philosophy are you building for yourself? Is it a philosophy of excuses, or a philosophy of responsibility? A philosophy of scarcity, or a philosophy of abundance? A philosophy of doubt, or a philosophy of faith? Your answer will determine the quality of your life, not someday, but today. Because philosophy guides every decision you make. Now let's talk about how philosophy shows up in everyday living. When you decide how to use your time, that's philosophy. When you choose what to eat, how to exercise, or whether you exercise at all, that's philosophy. When you determine how much of your income you will spend, save, or invest, that's philosophy. When you respond to someone who hurts you, whether you forgive, ignore, or retaliate, that's philosophy. And when you dream about your future, the size of that dream, whether it's small and timid or big and bold, is a reflection of philosophy. If you want to change your personal results, you don't start with changing the outside world, because the outside world will resist you. You start with changing the inside world, because your philosophy is the seed from which your entire life grows. If you plant seeds of bitterness, don't expect joy. If you plant seeds of laziness, don't expect prosperity. But if you plant seeds of discipline, responsibility, and gratitude, then prosperity, happiness, and fulfillment become inevitable. Life responds to the quality of your philosophy. The problem with many people is not that they set out to fail, but that they simply never take the time to evaluate what they really believe. They never stop to ask, what do I believe about success? About money? About relationships? About discipline? About happiness? They drift through life with an unexamined philosophy, and drifting is a dangerous thing. The winds of opinion will toss you back and forth, and you'll never develop the strong roots required to weather the storms of life. One of the greatest responsibilities you have is to become the architect of your own philosophy. This means reading books that stretch your thinking, listening to mentors who have walked the path before you, and questioning ideas that don't serve you. You see, philosophy is not about copying someone else's beliefs, but about carefully choosing the ideas that align with your vision of the life you want to live. It's about building a foundation strong enough to carry the weight of your dreams. Let me share a powerful truth. Your philosophy will determine whether you treat problems as stumbling blocks or stepping stones. Every person faces difficulties. The difference is not whether problems come, but what you believe about them when they do. A poor philosophy says, problems ruin my life. A strong philosophy says, problems refine my character. If you adopt the latter, no challenge can defeat you because you have already decided that every challenge is a lesson. Another truth is this. Your philosophy will shape how you value time. Some people waste hours as if they had an endless supply. They let days slip through their fingers with no thought to tomorrow. Others guard their time as the most precious resource because they know time is life. If your philosophy teaches you that an hour wasted is an opportunity wasted, you will become far more productive, far more intentional, and far more fulfilled. Your philosophy also determines your relationship with money. Some believe money is evil, so they unconsciously repel it. Others believe money is a tool for good, so they attract it and use it to bless others. Money is neutral. Your philosophy about it gives it meaning. If you believe money corrupts, then you'll avoid wealth and remain stuck. If you believe money amplifies who you already are, then you'll pursue it with integrity and use it wisely. And let's not forget relationships. If your philosophy says people cannot be trusted, you will close yourself off, miss opportunities for love, and walk through life alone. If your philosophy says people are worth investing in, you'll build deep connections, create networks of support, and experience the richness of human companionship. Philosophy determines whether you isolate or integrate, whether you push away or pull close, whether you live in loneliness or in love. So what must we do? We must become students of life. We must become intentional about shaping a philosophy that empowers us instead of weakens us. That begins with awareness. Ask yourself right now, what are the ideas I've accepted without question? What beliefs am I carrying from my childhood, from my environment, from my failures, from my fears that no longer serve me? What assumptions am I making about success, happiness, and love that might not be true? Awareness is the first step. The second step is choice. Once you become aware of the philosophies you've inherited, you have the power to choose new ones. If you have lived by a philosophy of laziness, you can choose discipline. If you have lived by a philosophy of scarcity, you can choose abundance. If you have lived by a philosophy of fear, you can choose courage. Choice is what separates humans from every other creature on Earth. You are not stuck with the philosophy you grew up with. You can build a new one, starting today. The third step is practice. Philosophy must be lived, not just thought. It is not enough to believe in discipline. You must practice discipline. It is not enough to believe in kindness. You must practice kindness. It is not enough to believe in gratitude. You must practice gratitude. Every day you practice, you strengthen the roots of your philosophy until it becomes your natural way of living. And here's the reward. When you build the right philosophy, success becomes inevitable. Because life does not give you what you want. It gives you who you are. And who you are is determined by what you believe. If you believe in excuses, you become an expert in failure. If you believe in responsibility, you become a creator of success. If you believe in discipline, you become the master of results. If you believe in gratitude, you become rich, no matter how much money you have. So I challenge you today to examine your philosophy, take inventory, question it, test it. And if it does not serve your highest vision, replace it with one that does. Because your personal philosophy is not just a set of ideas, it is your future. It will shape your health, your wealth, your relationships, your happiness, and your legacy. And the greatest gift you can give yourself in the world is to live by a philosophy that uplifts, empowers, and inspires. Remember this: your philosophy is your compass. And wherever your compass points, that is where your life will go. So point it toward discipline, toward growth, toward responsibility, toward gratitude, toward faith, toward love. Build a philosophy worthy of your life.